Another young adult sci-fi film hits the box office. This one, though, comes with a twist because it's not based on any book. It's not based on any other material. It is an original story. Well, okay, I use the word original loosely. Let's talk Voyagers. Hey everybody, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It and my standalone spoiler-free review for the new film Voyagers in theaters now. It was written and directed by Neil Berger, and like I said, it's not based on any existing property. Neil wrote the script himself, and you may know that name because he's directed the movies Limitless and the first Divergent movie. I don't know if he did the others, but he did at least the first one. So he's got his hand in some interesting sci-fi material before. So what does he do with this one? Well, I mentioned up top that maybe it's not the most original story. And that is true. He's been sort of in interviews even saying that this is basically Lord of the Flies in space. So right there, we've got, okay, here's the basic concept. It's been done before, but how do we take it to space? All right, so the basic concept is that there's these 30 young men and women who are sent deep into space to find this planet that's 87 years in the future. So essentially, their job is to procreate. Well, they have jobs, to keep the ship afloat, but really their main job is to procreate and then to have their sons and daughters procreate, and then essentially the grandchildren of these kids are going to be discovering the planet in 87 years. We start in 2063, but then that's just sort of the concept of we need to get off Earth. Then it goes about 10 years into the future of that. So I think the mission starts around the 2080 mark or something like that. But Colin Farrell works for whatever this NASA organization is, and he plays Richard, who is the lone adult that is going to be on the spaceship. Originally, they were going to just launch the kids and leave them all to their own devices, but basically they train them until they're about 10 years old and then send them off into space, so at least they know a little bit about how things work. But originally they were going to not have any adults on, which makes no sense. And then Colin Farrell steps up and says, no, I'll go with them, and I can mentor them and teach them and stuff. And that also goes awry because you only have one adult that you're sending with these kids. What if something happens to that adult? And look, because Berger's already been talking about how this is Lord of the Flies in space, I don't think it's any huge spoiler to say that something does happen to Farrell's character. He gets incapacitated, and so the kids are basically left to their own devices. And so, they start reverting into their primal state. And there's some question of an alien being outside the ship or possibly inside the ship, or possibly it's metaphorical and the alien's inside us. There's many questions actually that I left the movie still not quite knowing for sure the answers to. But in any event, there's also this blue stuff that they have to drink every morning, and it turns out it's actually a drug that sort of kills their libidos so that they're not really procreating on this ship to an overpopulation state. They want to sort of control, okay, you can only have, one kid or whatever, so that way we can have enough people to land, but not enough people that we can't feed them all or what have you. So anyway, the child stars of the movie, I say children, but they're really in their early 20s in the real world, and I think they're probably playing teens here, but Ty Sheridan is the main star. You may know him as Cyclops from the X-Men, and then Lily Rose Depp is the female, the lead female anyway, and the romantic interest, and you may know her from being Johnny Depp's daughter, or from being in that horrible movie Yoga Hosers. And there's a few people you may recognize other than that as well, but they're sort of the main ones. And then Fionn Whitehead is here as well as sort of the villain. And so when this whole Lord of the Flies thing starts to happen, we see a lot of parallels, not just with Lord of the Flies, of course, but with a lot of our present-day politics here in the U.S. We see the, two different people, or two different factions sort of merge, one faction's over here, one faction's over here. You see what I mean? And they are going against each other, but it's sort of like, oh, well, there's, video evidence of this happening. Oh, well, we don't believe that. We believe this, da, 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 da. So I think there may be sort of winks and nods maybe to some of the things going on in American politics today as well, but it's not very subtle for one thing, but it's also not very well done for another thing. So the acting here is not that great. I really liked Ty Sheridan when he first came on the scene in Mud. He's done, a few movies since then. He was the lead in Ready Player One, and I thought that movie, had some potential. I thought visually it was very engaging, but I didn't think he was that good in it, and I don't think he's that good in it here. And Lily Rose Depp, she's not that good of an actress either. So there's just very little chemistry with any of the kids, and I actually think the concept of this is very interesting. I think this could have been better served as a miniseries on Netflix or HBO Max or something, because I feel like getting to know these characters would have gone a much longer way in really helping us identify with them. We don't know much about them at all, and the villain is just like, we don't know his motivation. We don't know what his problem is. Like, just to be a bad guy, like, it just doesn't make that much sense. Now, I will say that the concept of this is interesting. I think they could have gone further with that original concept of, you're put in this ship just to procreate, essentially, and have, future generations be the ones actually doing the discovering on the planet. And I think that may have been a more interesting way to go. And the more they discover about, okay, well, this blue stuff, this drug you're giving us, da 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 da, and then they forge, further with that. But Farrell exits the story so soon that it's like none of the interesting stuff about it really gets to be discovered or fleshed out. So because of that, it's very, very disappointing all the way around. Now, I will say the ending, I think is pretty interesting, and like, it's intense, and it veers then into the completely unrealistic, but for a film like this, it's still kind of intense. But then the epilogue is it sort of negates everything else and makes everything sort of, I don't know, useless or irrelevant, because it just gets all tied together with a nice little cute bow. And is there like no fallout from what happened? Like, and again, I feel like I've given too many spoilers already. So it's like, I'm not going to go into further detail, but I was sort of feeling this ending, and then the epilogue was just so disappointing, So overall, this is just kind of a mess of a movie. Those other movies I mentioned that Neil Berger has done, I liked a lot more. Limitless, I think, is great, and the subsequent TV show as well. I don't know if that's still streaming on Netflix, but that's worth a watch too, if you want to check that out. Very interesting stuff there. I love that first Divergent movie. The subsequent ones, maybe not, but that first one was good. But this just, it borrows from too much and not well at all. And just the acting's not that good, and it's just disappointing all around. I do think it would have been served better as a limited series to maybe get to at least know these characters a little bit better. So I'm going to leave Voyagers with a D+. I teetered maybe a little bit on that C- because I like the premise of it, but the premise goes away in about 15 minutes. And then we've got the rest of the movie that just doesn't really hold up. So I think D+ is probably appropriate for Voyagers. All right, that's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you are new to this channel. Think about that. I would love to have you aboard as a subscriber, and like this video, share this video if you have people in your life that might be interested in hearing about this movie. But that's going to do it. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you back here next time. Bye.